On the night of October 18, 2016, in the quiet suburb of Brookridge, Oregon, 17-year-old Jessica Harlan was babysitting for the Wilmont family, regulars in the community, known for being warm and kind. It was a typical Wednesday. Mr. and Mrs. Wilmont had tickets to a late show in the city and asked Jessica to look after their 4-year-old son, Max, while they were gone for a few hours. Jessica had babysat Max before. He was quiet, easygoing, and loved building things with his toy blocks. At around 8:30 p.m., she put him to bed upstairs, read him a short story, and tucked him in. Nothing strange. Nothing unusual. By 9:15, Jessica was downstairs, curled up on the couch, watching Netflix and texting her best friend, Shelby. The Wilmonts had a baby monitor setup, one of those newer kinds with a video feed you can check from your phone. They had even given Jessica access to it via an app. Jessica opened the feed a few times just to make sure Max was still sleeping soundly. He was. But at 9:42 p.m., something on the monitor made her freeze. She glanced at the screen and noticed something odd. Max was still in bed, but there was a figure, standing in the far corner of the room. At first, she thought it might be a shadow, or maybe even a coat hanging weirdly from a lamp. But the shape was too tall, and it was moving, slow, side to side, like someone barely shifting their weight. She blinked, stared harder. The screen flickered slightly, then cleared. The figure was still there. Jessica's first instinct was to rush upstairs, but something stopped her. If there was an intruder, she needed to be smart. So she quietly locked the door to the living room, grabbed the landline, and called 911. She explained what she saw, described the figure and gave the address. Dispatch said help was on the way. Jessica opened the baby cam feed again, and this time, Max was sitting up in bed. His little eyes were locked onto the corner of the room. But the figure was gone. About 2 minutes passed before the police arrived. They swept the house, top to bottom. Nothing. No signs of forced entry. No one hiding in the closets, under the bed, or in the attic. Nothing stolen. Max was shaken up, but unharmed. The officers chalked it up to a tech glitch or a case of nerves. Jessica wasn't so sure. The Wilmonts came home shortly after. She told them what happened, and they were grateful, though skeptical. Jessica left around 11:30 p.m. and went home still thinking about what she saw. But that should have been the end of the story. It wasn't. 3 days later, Jessica got a message from Mrs. Wilmont. She was panicked. She had gone through the camera logs, recordings stored in the cloud that she hadn't known were on autosave. There was one from that night, around 9:40 p.m. In the clip, you can see Max asleep in bed. Then, in the corner, the shape of a tall man appears. No face. No features. Just black clothes and a weird slouch. He doesn't move much, until Max rolls over. That's when the figure leans slightly forward. Then the camera glitches. When the video clears, he's gone. The Wilmonts called the police again and showed them the footage. An investigation was opened. But there were no leads, no suspects, no clear images. Just static and shadows. Jessica couldn't sleep for days. She eventually stopped babysitting altogether. But it didn't stop there. A few months later, in February 2017, another family across town reported something almost identical. A babysitter claimed she saw a man on a camera feed standing near a crib. Police responded. Nothing was found. But the story was almost word for word the same. The only clue. In both homes, the camera models were the same brand, and both had gone on sale at a local electronics shop around September of the previous year. Authorities eventually contacted the manufacturer, and found something chilling. A batch of units had been compromised. Someone had hacked into them. These were smart cameras, meaning someone, somewhere, had been watching. In real time. From their own device. But here's the part that kept Jessica up at night. According to cybersecurity experts, the hacker didn't just watch. In some cases, they could speak through the camera. Like an intercom. Jessica remembered something that still made her stomach twist. On the night it all happened, when she looked at the screen and saw that figure, she could have sworn, just for a second, she heard a faint whisper coming from the phone speaker. She couldn't make out the words, but it wasn't static. It sounded like someone humming. The case went cold. But online, people began sharing similar stories. Posts popped up on forums like Reddit, other babysitters, parents, even pet owners, reporting a strange man appearing on their home monitors. Some claimed he just stood there. Others said he smiled. One user described waking up at 3 a.m. to find her monitor pointed directly at her bed, even though she always left it facing the crib. None of it ever led to an arrest. Some say it was a lone hacker, others believe it was something else entirely, something paranormal. Jessica eventually moved out of town for college. She doesn't talk much about that night anymore. But every now and then, she still gets messages from other sitters. Same story. Same man. Same silence. And one thing in common, he always appears just out of reach, right at the edge of the frame.